What's going on, everybody? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. Welcome to the show. It's me, the Dungeon Delver. How are you, guys? How are you? Uh, I am literally just hanging out tonight. There is no special agenda. I don't have any special announcements. I don't. I I don't. I don't. I'm just here to relax and kick back for a little while and say hey to you guys. Gonzalo says the soundless opening is like the dancing with no music in a scene in Amadeus, which brings up something interesting. Gonzalo, oh, I need to turn on so see y'all's comments on the screen. I've decided that what I'm gonna do for the interim is I'll probably see about getting some classic guitar music and just literally have an AI play, I don't know, some Bach or something like that, and just stick it up behind the opening until such time comes as I can get a good piece of music. So that is the plan. MJ says, "What a fantastic model." I've never done any modeling, MJ, but thank you just the same. Green sleeves, yeah, green sleeves. I've always been a big fan of Invention 13 since I first heard it prominently used in Commodore 64 commercials when I was a kid back in the day. But who knows? Who knows? I gotta have something up there because it's kind of eerie, you know. But we'll see. We'll see about that. Anyway, let me ask you if you're just kind of clocking in and you like haven't done it before, would you click the subscribe button and click the bell icon for notifications? Because I, as a rule of thumb, don't generally live stream late on Saturday nights. I just kind of did it. But I do live stream 5 nights a week, and I occasionally actually do real videos. And I'm thinking about just like starting flipping my live streams out on my channel, just duplicating a lot of effort, but just do it so YouTube will think that I'm uploading content all the time. Oh, look at this guy. He's doing 2 a week. Look at him. I've got enough I could do 1 a day and keep going for years and years. Oh, well, thank you, MJ. I appreciate that. Gonzalo, you guys were in Atari House? No, I can't do Girl from Ipanema. That is Anton Carlos Jobim's music that will absolutely earn me a copyright strike. But Gonzalo, you guys were in Atari House. So you guys had Alan Alda. You know, Alan Alda, fresh off of MASH, looking all smug and talking about that. I will say that consistently after the Commodore PET, the that of all of the personal computers, the Commodore had the best keyboard. Absolutely, hands down, home computers, Commodore had the best keyboards. With a possible exception, and you're going to laugh when I say this, if you're of a certain age, the Atom had a really decent keyboard. That was the only good thing about the Atom was its keyboard. I remember typing on its keyboard in a Zayers. They had an Atom out on display in a Zayers, and I typed on it. Yes, with the Atari, it was the 1010. It was a 1010 cassette drive, or no, the 810. It was the 810. Well, it depends. It depends because once you got over to the XL line, they changed a lot of a lot of product names, but the guts were identical, like for their disk drives and their tape drives. Um, but oh my God, the keyboard on the 400, you poor people. The keyboard on the 400 was that a prank? Holy crap, that thing was terrible. Mash, mash, mash. Um, I will say that the keyboard on the 400 was only surpassed in awfulness by the the Tomy Tudor and the Sinclair ZX Spectrum and the ZX81. But yeah, really looking back, I mean, when you go back and it, like, Commodore had cherry mechanical switches in the 8032, the 8024, the VIC 20, of course, the 64, the 16. I think they fucked up. Whoops. Somebody super chat me, please. I think they screwed up when they did the was it the 264 was just a screw up from the get-go. Yes, we can agree that Intellivision users were sociopaths, without a doubt. Although I will say I was super envious that they got 2 advanced Dungeons and Dragons games. I so wanted those on the Atari, and there was actually a prototype of I don't know if it was Treasures of Taramyn or Cloudy Mountain, but there was one of the licensed AD&D games. There was a prototype made. They actually wrote it and crammed the whole game in there. But yeah, so they had the D&D games, and that was about that. I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again because it's Saturday night and I have no agenda, so why not? Back on the VIC 20, I was obsessed with adventure games. Anything that was fantasy and game related, I wanted. And one of the first games I got for the VIC was a text adventure called Adventureland. Adventureland was made by a company called Adventure International, and it was actually based in Longwood, Florida, which is very near to me. Although at the time where I lived closer to Orlando, I thought Longwood was some distant, far off thing. Yes, that was one of the first flight simulators that you could get, one of the first graphical flight simulators. I should point out, I should make that distinction, because believe it or not, there were IFR flight simulators. They didn't bother trying to visually represent a 3D landscape, but they would put all the instruments and keep track of your altitude, your heading, your pitch, yaw, and roll. So I did come to play Wizardry later, a user, but anyway, so Adventureland was a text adventure. Commodore licensed the Scott many of the Scott Adams adventures, not all of them. They licensed many of the Scott Adams adventures to come out on cartridge for the VIC 20. And VIC 20 cartridges were big things. They were like this wide, that high. If you've ever seen the SECC1 package that Pentium 2 processors came in, that's about how big an Atari a VIC 20 cartridge was. Star Raiders was phenomenal, Gonzalo. Star Raiders, I had that on my 2600, and even like there would be days I would just stare at that damn 2600 going, I don't want anything to do with you. Let's play some Star Raiders. And I would sit and I would rock a Star Raiders game for 20 or 30 minutes and come away feeling very happy. But anyway, back to the VIC-20. Hey, old Michael Connor, unbreaded. The Adventureland on the VIC. Now, the VIC-20, if you didn't know this, had 3.5 kilobytes of RAM, not 35, and I'm mistaken, not 35 megabytes, not 350K, 3.5 kilobytes of memory. Hearn the Hunter says Elite on the 64 was one of his first loves. That was a great game. Elite on the 64. But I'm going to come back to that. I want to come back to that, not just to Elite, but other games on the 64. Anyway, the VIC-20 was strapped, no pun intended, if you know, you know, for RAM. To make the game engine runnable and have data able to manage inventory and rooms and non-player characters. On the VIC-20, what you do is turn the machine off, plug the cartridge in, turn the machine on, and everything looked hunky-dory. You had to type basically you had to poke the cartridge in a certain location in its memory and cause the game to run. And on the VIC-20, I believe it was SYS 49152. That was the command you typed, SYS 49152. And what you were saying was, system, go to this memory location, which you have because the cartridge is plugged into you, and start running what code is there. It would load the gameplay loop and then read the data off the cartridge. That was how it worked. They were so strapped for memory on both the VIC and in the cartridge that there was no bootstrap assembly. There was no room for bootstrap assembly code. Now, I was an inquisitive child, and I was probably not the only one, but I wondered what would happen if you typed different numbers. SYS 49153, SYS 49154. And one afternoon, evening, I don't know, I sat down and I just started randomly typing in numbers and writing down in a little spiral notebook what happened. Sometimes the computer would lock up. Sometimes it would lock up and get stuck in a loop of making horrible noise. Sometimes it would blank the screen. Sometimes it wouldn't lock the machine up, but attempting to run other programs, you'd get bad results out of the computer. It's like out of memory, or, you type a simple program, 10 print hello world, and you press enter and it'd be syntax error. It would screw with the machine's internals. So you'd have to turn it off and turn it back on. Then at some point, I typed SYS, whatever I typed, and it dumped an entire hint book for the game that was accessible. Like if you typed help, this was not like, well, here's how you type in commands. Here's how you save your game. It vomited out onto the screen just 2 or 3 pages of text that I could scroll up and down through with the cursor keys of clues on how to beat each puzzle in the text adventure. Now, some of them were a little obscure. Like, for example, there was a lava river, Now, you could go get firestones from where a dragon was sleeping. You'd have to drive the dragon off, or else the dragon would eat you and kill you. But you could get the firestones, come back, and if you typed Dam River, you'd throw the firestones in, and it would block the flow of lava, and you could then see rubies. And then you had to use a bottle of water and put water. Where do you want to put the water? On rubies. There's a hiss of steam, and then the rubies are cool enough to pick up. So the hint for the lava was, don't get mad, or was it it was something like, don't overthink the lava, get mad. So that blew me away when I was a kid, that there was this help file. Now, I had 3 or 4 other Scott Adams Adventure International cartridges for the VIC. I had The Count. I had one that was Treasure Island. And then I had, what was the other one? I had one that was you were like you were stranded on an island somewhere. It was like Voodoo Castle or something like that. So I had a few of those, and I went and I tried that with them. I first tried the same location. They may have had a hint file somewhere in them. I could never find it, but most of those were beatable. But there were just a few puzzles in Adventureland that always threw me. A few years ago, now again, Scott Adams Adventure International computer store actually used to be right here in my neck of the woods, what is now my neck of the woods. This wasn't my neck of the woods when I was 12, 13 years old and I had my VIC 20. But I did go to the store once. Scott was not there, unfortunately. But I went to look up if Scott Adams was still kicking around there, and I found his website. And he had a contact. So I emailed him. He actually did not code that in. He's like, we turned the source code over to Commodore, and they told us what they had to do. They had to turn our I think he said they wrote those in either Pascal or BASIC, because the Adventure International games came out for the Atari machines. They came out for Apples, of course, and a few other machines. But they turned their source code over to Commodore to do the things. He's like, so somebody at Commodore must have put that in there, because I didn't, and good on you for finding that hint file. That is really fascinating. So yeah, that was a little bit of fun hackery that I discovered back in the day. Now, somebody was mentioning up earlier, I think it may have been a user who was talking. Oh no, it was Hearn the Hunter. Said Elite on the 64 was one of my first loves. I loved 3D games and 3D flight sims on the 64. I had accolades, not accolades, Sublogic Jet Pilot, which came with like an F-18 and an F-14, an F-16 simulators. And of course, Gunship, F-15 Strike Eagle, F-19, MiG Alley, and all of those great games. Elite, Echelon was the one from Access. He did not know that the hint file was there. The Commodore guys put it in. But the the thing was, the 64 was just so slow. If you had a lot going on screen when you were playing any of those, any of those games, and if you were playing uh one of the flight sims where you'd be flying low to the ground, there'd be mountains, there'd be buildings, even wireframe. It was a crawl. It was like 1 or 2 frames a second. The rare moments, like if you were pointed straight at the sky and there was nothing going on, and you could move around and watch your gauges move fluidly and stuff like that, probably at a blistering 10 or 12 frames a second. It felt so good. But most of the time it was just dog slow. And I remember when I got my Amiga computer, and I got Falcon. When I bought the Amiga, I bought a copy of Falcon. Actually, my dad bought me the Amiga 500. And of course, it was all filled, flat shaded polygons, hundreds of polygons on screen instead of maybe a dozen of wireframe polygons on screen on the 64. And I was just like, yep, I've arrived. This is it. This is the ultimate in simulation. This is top notch. Nothing's going to top this, 32 colors on screen. Just amazing stuff. And then, of course, the future moved on. The future was the future. So there was nothing really to be done. Commodore was bought by corporate raiders in like 1989. To quote Bruce Springsteen, man, that was all she wrote. They stopped spending money to innovate. They stopped spending money to advance the platform. They canceled, or rather, what was it? The Amiga. All right. The Amiga came out in a very weird time. Analog TV was still the thing, where Macintosh systems and IBM systems wanted to plug in to higher refresh rate monitors. Commodore still had that home computer mentality, and the Amiga technicians made the computer with the mindset of plug this into a TV. All of the system bus timings. And to explain system bus timings, if you plug a video card into your computer, or if you plug a video card into your computer, memory in your computer, when you drop a CPU in your computer, how data is moved around between devices in the computer is system bus speed. The Amiga's clock speed was a specific fraction of NTSC refresh rate. If you've ever seen an old CRT screen filmed and like it looks like it's rolling or it's flickering, it's because the digital camera is too fast for that TV. You can make adjustments, but the refresh rates on the Amiga were tied to NTSC, because originally Amiga Technologies, Amiga Incorporated, was a separate company that was bought by Atari. Well, Atari gave them a bunch of money to make a new Atari, and they were lagging behind in their development, and Atari was set to leap on them and take all of their tech in payment. Commodore heard about the technology, stepped in, paid off their loan, and bought them. And so we got the Commodore Amiga instead of the Atari Amiga. So Commodore, um, or rather Amiga, now by Commodore, um, they went from maybe this will be a game console, maybe it'll be a hybrid game console computer, to this is going to be a home computer. This is just going to be a computer. So what happened was, by accident, the Amiga was really, really, really super duper incredibly good at synchronizing with televisions. And because of that, if you grew up in the 70s or early 80s, well, through the mid late 80s, and you ever saw Monday Night Football or your local weather report or something like that, and you saw computer graphics on screen, those were being done either with this British workstation computer called a color paint box or by a silicon graphics machine. Those could cost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. A $1,500 Amiga with a $300 add-on called a Genlock could do all of that stuff like that for literally a 15th of the cost. Video toasters, exactly. When Commodore released the Amiga 2000, which had slots in it like a normal PC, one of the slots on board, the video slot, there was a company called NewTek that had made a gadget that let you plug a digital camera into the Amiga and take digital images with it. They took it to the next level and they released a special video capture card called the Video Toaster. And even a $4,000 or $5,000 layout for an Amiga with a video toaster beat the pants off of $50,000 to $100,000 for a color paint box or silicon graphics workstation. And I told you that story to tell you this very sad one. Movie producers loved the Amiga and the video toaster. They loved the Amiga in general. There were graphics technicians at Paramount who went to Commodore and said, hey, will you give us an Amiga to feature in Star Trek The Voyage Home? There's going to be a scene where Scotty walks up and uses the computer. And we want it to be an Amiga because we're Amiga fans. And Commodore's response was, sure, that'll be $3,000. And they were like, this is free advertising for you. You realize that, don't you? We're going to put up computers provided by Commodore, so on and et cetera. And they were like, then you can go buy one in a store if you want to have it here. So that was the end of that. And you see a Macintosh that Scotty picks up the mouse and says, hello, hello, computer, to try and get it to do its thing. Not quite, Adam. Not quite. But I'm going to get to that. That's a good point. So let's shift over to NewTek. NewTek tells Commodore, we want to sell video toaster workstations by Commodore. We want to send out complete sets that broadcasters can plug and play. And we can ship these things like hotcakes. We have got, hey, Kabuki, how are you, dear? We have got people beating down our doors for the video toaster. They're ready. And Commodore said, that's going to cost you this much retail. And they were like, well, we want to buy them wholesale. Can we buy them wholesale? And they said, if you want to sell these rebadged as video toasters, you got to buy them. they made new tech, buy the computers retail, and then rebadge them and put video toasters in them. So that was strike two. Well, that was one of many strikes. Sun, if you guys have anything to do IT related, you know about Sun Systems. Sun Systems basically drove the early World Wide Web. The Unix that Commodore System 5 Unix for the Amiga that they released for the Amiga 3000 was better than what Sun was putting out. And the hardware that Commodore made was better than what Sun was putting out. Sun went to Commodore and said, we would like a license to build Amiga 3000s as Unix workstations. We want to make high-end Unix workstations with your hardware. And Commodore told them to get fucked. They screwed up every single deal they had to make the Commodore Amiga a force majeure in information systems history, because the company that was in charge of them were corporate raiders. All they wanted to do was squeeze as much profit as they could out of the company and then dispose of the remains. The video toaster Kabuki, it was an analog to digital video effects board that was way less expensive than graphics workstations in the 80s. Now I'm talking about the stuff that ran the backbones a user, but no, you're right. The first web browser was developed on Next machines. Anyway, so I want to answer this one. Whoops, not that. This. They used A4000s video toasters to do Babylon 5. Sort of. They used an A2000. They used an A2000 or a few A2000s to put together the TV movie. After the TV movie, during that time after the movie came out, and it was a big splash, serious computer companies were begging New Tech to decouple the Lightwave rendering software from the video toaster. Most serious graphics guys derided the toaster as the Lightwave dongle because they didn't care about doing the digital video capture and the splicing and the mixing that the toaster could do. All they wanted to do was run Lightwave. And companies like DEC, Silicon Graphics, and Apple begged New Tech to just port Lightwave over to more powerful machines. And they eventually did before the start of the Babylon 5 TV show. And that was that. They were still using Lightwave, but they were rendering their graphics with DEC alphas, with SGIs, and with Macintosh. They had nothing to do with the 64 at that point. So Commodore basically committed corporate unaliving self. I got to be careful a little bit about what I say. So there's a little bit of computer history for you guys tonight, from the VIC-20 all the way to the death of Commodore. But to go back what I was saying about 3D wireframe graphics, they were so horribly slow on the 64, which is kind of what has me interested in this new deluxe Commodore 64 that's supposed to come out, because it does run on an FPGA core and you can crank it up to 40 megahertz. And I'm entirely sure a wireframe 200 by 192 graphics display, even if you just bump up the speed to 6 or 8 megahertz, will absolutely fly. So I'm kind of excited about that, but we'll have to see. I've got a lot of other irons in the fire. So is there anybody who doesn't know what happened to me last weekend and cares to hear? Let me reiterate that. By the way, if you have D&D questions or D&D shit you want to talk about, please say so in the chat and we'll do it. Don't let me just pin you guys down with a bunch of nonsense about old computers and stuff. God, I wish I had a beer. Oh, nice, Adam. I wish I could get one of those, but I got too much stuff going on, brother. Oh, speaking of Kabuki, because hello, Kabuki, and she gently wields the wrench of don't screw around. She gave me an idea, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do this as a live video, as a live stream, or if I'm going to do like a series of videos, because it's a lot. I have art books here, and I'm very proud of these art books. Probably the latest acquisition is Monsters by Kenan James, and we had Kenan on. But I have a lot of art books over here. I've got Boris Vallejo. I've got I've got Frank Frazetta. I have two absolutely amazing books by Regis Moulin. I've got I've got Chris Foss, and I can show you exactly precisely one half of the artwork in the Chris Foss book. I have Hajime Soriyama, which I gotta be super careful about that. I've got Shiro Masamune. I've got a lot of art. And of course I've got Matt Rhodes. I've got his beautiful sketchbook and his beautiful Tellurion books. I've got a lot of art books over here, guys. And Kabuki was saying, or I was talking about the art books, and I said, maybe I'll do a deep dive on those one day. And she was very enthusiastic about it. So I think you want to see some Judges Guild. Thank you, Gonzalo, for the super. I've done like one deep dive on a Judges Guild product, and it was Duck Tower, or no, it was Dark Tower. It wasn't Duck Tower. It was Dark Tower. I have the orange Tegel Manor, which we could do Tegel Manor. I can do a deep dive on Tegel Manor. But thank you very much for the super, dude. I really, really appreciate that. So I'm thinking, because like holding them up like this and trying to show off the art, it is not really going to work that well. And a lot of these books, let me try and pick one that won't get me thrown off of the internet forever. Canceled, as they say. And be careful. Nope. Yeah, no, none of that. Okay, this is not too bad. This is a Soriyama art book. See how it doesn't really open that well? I'm not really sure how showing those off on camera, because they're not going to lay flat. And again, this this book is full of cheesecake. I don't just mean like, oh, I get it, sexy gynoid robot. No. So Soriyama may just be off the list entirely. I might just have to not show any of the Soriyama art. Because I'll be honest, guys, I mean, there's also a matter of good taste. All right. A weird off the wall question, tangential to games. In my Saturday night late live stream, how dare you? Who was behind changing minis from lead to palladium or pewter or whatever? Okay, so toys, at least in the United States, pretty much going back to the 1700s, if they have metal parts, have lead in them because lead is cheap. And also, lead makes great paint base. Lead makes a nice additive to plastic. Lead. We stopped doing that when we found out how damn toxic lead was, particularly in the late 1960s and early 1970s. But here's the thing. Lead miniatures were exempted from that. Now here's an interesting thing. I don't know how true this is. I've heard this. This sounds like an 80s urban legend, but there was a concerned parent, I think in the state of New York, who said that her kids tested unusually high for lead content. Their doctor, and he was like, "Oh, this is not good." And she was worried about the lead miniatures, so she contacted Grenadier, she contacted whoever, and generally kind of started working on this. The thing about it was the brownstone she lived in had a shooting gallery in the basement, like for decades in the 1800s. The stuff permeated her walls probably. But miniature manufacturers reacted to a bill that was passed in Congress by taking most of the lead out, not all of the lead, most of the lead out, and switching to tin and antimony, mostly tin and antimony. Interestingly, almost immediately after that, a proviso bill was passed, or a rider, an addendum, I don't know, was put on it that said, oh, by the way, if you classify your toys as not for children and collectibles, then you're cool. Just don't market them to children. So they could have done all that and kept the lead content in them. I, for one, am kind of glad that they didn't, because I never really noticed a difference. And indeed, pure lead or high lead content minis will rot. They will oxidize. I remember seeing an auction years ago. Someone bought a hobby shop that had been boarded up for decades. And they said, I've just looked in through the windows of this place. I'm kind of excited. There's an entire wall that I recognize is of like Perrin miniatures and Martian metals and stuff like that. And when they got in, all of the minis had rotted. They had all they'd all oxidized. So lead rot can happen. So we found out that they could have kept the lead in the minis. Now, interestingly, early in the 2000s, Reaper Miniatures came out with a line of miniatures called P65. the P being short for PB, which is of course uh, the chart of the elements symbol for lead. And they were minis that were 65% lead content. I have one of them. In the early 2000s, China's building boom kicked off, which is why metal miniatures cost as much as they do now. Because China was buying up tin, antimony, and lead like nobody's business. Not just for building, but for solder, for electronics, for everything else. So stuff that was basically junk metal, unless you were making bullets or gewgaws for faux antique stores, this stuff was basically useless until it wasn't. So we wound up with an interesting situation where things are now, quote unquote, pewter. Harn the Hunter asks, in my current campaign to keep on the Borderlands, I have some of the most tight-fisted penny pinchers that I've ever played with. Dude, lean into it. I mean, if the party's going to sit there and they're going to haggle over the cost of a single torch, lean into it. Reaction rolls, my friends. They don't want to open their fists. They're bringing bags of silver and gold out of the caves, and they would prefer to like rent one room and the whole party sleep in it in the inn. Make them pay for it in other ways. You know? Well, apparently my goods aren't good enough for you. Best of luck. You know, that longsword they bought at the provisioner? Maybe he knows these bastards are going to cheap him out a little bit, so he doesn't do as good of a job as he might. So maybe save a crushing blow every 20 blows or something like that. And taxes are non-negotiable, my friend. The Castellan wants his cut. He heard about you guys talking about 21 platinum pieces, 310 gold, 608 silver, and 3 crocks full of copper. Give over. And monthly expenses, mages. That's right. The party's going to cheap out and camp where? It's going to be outside the keep, because the Castellan's not going to let them pitch tents in the middle of the main in the middle of the main courtyard or along any of the thoroughfares. Then if they want a room, it can be in the dungeons under the inner bailey. Oh, they'll just camp outside? They're not going to camp on the causeway. They're not going to block that road. They camp over there near the lizard men or the bandits, or back over near the hermit. Now, if they paid for it, Hearn, then that's fine. Why, Gonzalo? Whatever do you mean? That is correct. And that's a nice segue into what I was gonna tell you about a lot of you have the bits and pieces of what has happened over the last month. So, God, where do you even start? I talked about this on Monday, and I feel like a lot of you guys have heard this. Oh yes, MJ. I should have. I should have. Uh, I should have mentioned that. Um, your lead miniatures. If you got actual lead miniatures from back in the day, just seal them with paint. If you're not going to paint them for a while, clear coat them. You can paint over the clear coat. Just make sure it's thorough. As anyway, a few weeks back, middle of the day, we had a one of our toilets backed up. And I mean, that happens. Grab the plunger, go to town. Except the tub was backing up. The other toilet was backing up. No bueno. MJ, if you think it's going to be years, I would open them and coat them unless they're just like super collector's items. But I'm going to tell you this. This guy up here, this is a Grenadier Fantasy Lords skeleton delivering a pizza. This is from the 1980s or 1990s. Does it have a date on the back? 1983. So this mini is 42 years old. 42 or 43 years old. This miniature. There's no lead rot on this. It's still a little shiny. Because I keep saying Castellan. Or no bueno. So I go online and I order the tools to fix this. And one of the things I've got, I still have it, is an auger. Some people call it a snake. It's basically a very, very long coiled strip of metal, 25 feet to be exact. And it's a hand auger because I didn't have $300 to buy a power one. So I have a hand auger. And I knew I was going to have to remove one of the toilets from the floor. No bueno. Okay. See. Anyway. So I got a new wax ring, which is this big giant bagel looking ring of wax that you have to use to seal your toilet to the floor. So I order all this stuff online. It's like $25 maybe. Over the course of the afternoon, I go in to check on the bathrooms. And I notice that the water levels in the toilet bowls are normal now. I flush them both. Everything's hunky-dory. Hey, you're quite welcome, MJ. So I'm like, I guess something was just hung. And then it got unhung. We go on about our business. That's on a Monday. Friday comes, I'm getting ready for Gamma World. If you saw what happened a couple of weeks ago on Friday, you know we didn't play Gamma World. Called a plumber. Plumber got here at 11:30. Plumber didn't leave till 4:30 and at night and in the morning. That cost a bunch. And somebody saved my bacon. So thank God we're in the clear. Hallelujah. Now, at like 1:00 in the morning, I'm out in the front yard with a shovel with this guy, by the way, and we're looking for the relief valve. If you don't know what your relief valve is and you own a house, it's a cap on your water line, on your sewer line rather, that you can pop off and run a snake through, or you can use it to let water out of your house, whatever. Um, it was actually Roto-Rooter, and they do not charge extra for night or weekends. So he and I dug up my front yard to beat the band, couldn't find it. He's like, okay, I'll go in. You've got a cap on the side of the house. I can try going in there. He tries going in there. He's out there for an hour, comes back in. I don't think I'm getting it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in through another one that you've got on the backside of your house. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to pull your toilet, and that's going to be an extra $200. So I tell him, what if I pull the toilet? And he said, then it's the base price. It's just the cost of the call. So I get my shop back. I vacuum. I shut off the water's already shut off to the Johns at this point. I vacuum them out. Well, I bail them out as much as I can. I vacuum them out the rest of the way, pull the bolts, pull it. He goes at this thing for 90 minutes and finally gets it cleaned out. He was an awesome guy, really helped us out. Probably could have just said, look, you can't pull your toilet. I have to pull your toilet, and it's this much more. The missus found a coupon, saved us $100. He was like, oh, yeah, that's $100 off. I'll take $100 off. So I go in and collapse. And I wake up Saturday midday-ish, and I'm like, we got one working toilet. I'm not putting that toilet back on right now. Sunday I do it. It's back-breaking pain in the ass. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Everything's hunky-dory. Week goes by. Saturday comes. I sit up way too late. I go back to lay down. Now, Mrs. the Dungeon Delver, she's got a sound machine. Not the Miami sound machine, just, it's one of those noisemakers, white noise generators. And she likes kind of a ocean wave. So I go back to lay down. And I'm like, did she put it on the wrong setting? Because that sounds... I go to the other side of the bedroom and I listen. And I come back and I listen. And in between the wave sounds, I can still hear water. A lot of water. I go outside of my house. I go out on the side of the house. Our water main, which has been under pressure because of tree roots, has snapped. It is pushed out away from the side of the house and split just below the cutoff valve. And I got to admit, I just kind of stood there with 80 pounds PSI spraying out in a fan from my waist to my ankles, just sort of staring at it, trying to will it to stop. And it didn't. Fortunately, I know how to cut the water off at the street. So I run back inside, I grab my channel locks, I go to the meter and I cut the water off. I came inside and I had not a great time. Not a great time. So I cut the water off at the street. I come back in. I have not a great time. I wake my wife up. I tell her what's going on. And she said, can you fix it? I said, not right now, not with what I've got at home, but maybe tomorrow. She said, then go to bed and don't worry about it right now. So I get up and I go buy 20 gallons of chugged water. And I want to make something very clear. If I hadn't been up so stupid late, hang on a second. When I went out there, it wasn't like I stepped into a lake. I stepped into a mire. This had literally just begun to happen. The ground was wet. The ground wasn't saturated. If I hadn't been up late, that might have popped. And folks, I'm here to tell you, when I'm asleep, nothing wakes me up. Nothing wakes me up. I'm a heavy sleeper. If I had been asleep when that blew, it might have gone all night long and made that lake. So anyway, next morning, I go buy 20 gallons of water and some bottled water for drinking, bring it home, go to Lowe's, and proceed to buy a whole bunch of angled shark bite connectors and pipe. And the guy at the Lowe's, I told him exactly what was going on. I showed him pictures and I said, look, I gotta go, like, I gotta make a go out like that and then back in like that. I cut off the section of pipe that had the broken pipe under the shutoff valve and a little bit above it. And our house was piped in PEX gray pipe. If you know what that is, yeah, that's got to get addressed someday. But so he gave me all the couplers, all the shark bite connectors. And Sunday, now I had to get a gadget to cut the plastic pipe. I was using it wrong the whole time. I thought it was like an old copper pipe cutter that you tightened and turned. But what I was doing when I was doing that was I was making spiral cuts, which means they were at an angle. I don't think so, Kabuki. God, I hope not. So I made these spiral cuts inadvertently. And when I started putting the connectors back on and I put everything together and I turned the water back on, everything leaked. Just little drips. But drip, 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 drip. It doesn't seem like a lot. Over an hour or two, that's a few gallons of water. Over an entire day, that's 15 or 20 gallons of water. Over a week, that's a couple of 100 gallons of water. You see where I'm going. So yeah, I had to cut it all off, redo the fittings a couple of times. Then I realized, dummy, the pipe cutter, you don't clamp it down and then turn it. You just squeeze it, just ratchet it over and over again, and it makes that nice even cut. Aha. Thank you for the heads up, Kabuki. So once I got nice even cuts on it, Tuesday, it was Tuesday, or maybe it was late Monday. I don't remember. I feel like it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday, which this past Tuesday. I got everything clicked together. I got what they call thread dope on the brass fittings that I had to have. And it was all done. I have no words, guys. It was an absolute nightmare. Every time I thought I'd get it fixed, something would start dripping again. It was just a freaking nightmare. And that's what's been going on with my plumbing. But it's fixed now. First, I had too much water, and then I didn't have enough water. But for those of you who are curious, that's what's water keys are relatively cheap if you're a homeowner. It keeps you from having to reach down in the cutoff box. Yeah, I need to I was thinking about that a few times, like I should get one of those. Yeah, knocking on lots of wood, Kabuki. Three-fisted tales of toiletry. Plumbing ripped my flesh. Riz. But anyway, that wore holes in my soul. Yeah, the only place where the shark bites, I don't want to say failed me, because it was quite the opposite. So PEX is really soft. And if you're going to put a shark bite connector on it, if you're not sure what a shark bite connector is, let me see. You know what? We'll do this. Don't you fall over. Thank you. Pretend this is this coffee cup is a shark bite connector. Inside is an O-ring, and just above that O-ring, there are teeth that point outward. When you push the pipe in, and it forces the O-ring to the brass fitting in the back, all the way at the end, those teeth hold it in place against the O-ring. You can't pull it out unless you have a special tool. So because PEX is so flimsy, they have to have a stiffening ring. It's basically a sub-diameter pipe that goes up inside the PEX and holds it steady, so when the teeth bite in, it doesn't do anything weird. So with that stiffening ring up in there, I could not get one of the couplers off the PEX that was leaking, which sucks because the PVC to PEX coupler was the most expensive one. It was like $18. Yes, that's very true, Hearn. MJ, so what a water key is, if you have a house, if you go out to your meter, most meters are like, there's not just like a handle or a knob that they shut the water off at the meter with. It's this, if you just look straight down at it, it is just a flat, thick, like 1.5 or 2-inch long metal knob. Like think of an old TV tuner knob that had that sort of flange on top. That's kind of what it is. A water key is a wrench that has it's got a long metal handle, and it's got like a fork on the bottom that will sit down over that flange, and you can just turn it. I don't have one of those, so I had to get down on my hands and knees and grab it with my channel locks and turn it like a quarter of a turn at a time, because it's a very tight fit down in the meter box. That's it. That's what went on. I'm done talking about plumbing for now. That's it. But I want to talk about something positive and something D&D related. And this is going to sound a little sales pitchy, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And it is this. It is this. Last year for Christmas, I gave away 4 Christmas gifts. I gave away a Pac-Man machine. Yes, my battery is dead again. I'm sorry you can't see the games work. I gave away a brand new Jack's Arcades Pac-Man machine. I gave away a brand new WizKids. I hate calling it this, but whatever. Icons of the Realms Red Dragon from the Holmes basic set, new in box. I gave away the Dungeons and Dragons cookbook, which is actually pretty good. And good thing I'm handy on some level. On some level. And I gave away a Mobile Suit Gundam model. I regifted a Mobile Suit Gundam model, new in box. I opened it, I oohed and awed over it and said, I'm going to build that someday, and then proceeded to not build it. And it sat on my shelf for decades. And I gave those away as Christmas gifts. We did, that's right, Kabuki. She's learning. Don't forget to braise them a little bit. Anyway. So I gave those gifts away. We did drawings. We did die rolls for the first 2. I was going to do one a week, and the 3rd week of December just collapsed into the 4th week. And I knew I was going to do one Christmas night, the last one on Christmas night. So we just did the last 2 on Christmas night. And then we did the gift reveals of what people were going to get. I'm giving stuff away this holiday season. I'm giving stuff away this Christmas. I will announce and show on October 1st what I am giving away for the Christmas gifts. They're all the same thing. There's 4 of them. They are D&D gaming related, not like ancillary, like, oh, he 3D printed something. I still remember the crestfallen look my farmer rancher grandfather gave when I got out my basic expert D&D set on a visit. I was a bitter disappointment. I'm sorry, Gonzalo. But anyway, it's all gaming related. It's not 3D printed stuff, either filament or resin. It's not dice. I'll tell you that much. It's not miniatures. Not like, well, I guess he bought miniatures. No, it's not. It's 4 items that you're never going to have a chance to win again. And it is gaming related. You can I can guarantee you won't have another chance to win these. That said, last year I said, hey, if you want to be, I told people when we did the drawings, if you want to be considered for the drawings, say so right now. And we did like a die roll, and I had people, throw their names in, and I said, okay, at quarter hour, say the word that's on the screen, gift or Christmas or something like that. And then I frantically typed in everybody's name, and I rolled a die, and we went from there. We're doing it a little differently this year. We're going to do it a little differently this year. To be entered in the contest, you have to be a YouTube member. There's YouTube memberships. There is low as $1.99 a month, or a patron. They're as low as $1 a month. I can't adjust it down from $1.99. That's YouTube, not me. So if you're feeling thrifty, go support me on Patreon. You don't have to do it at the highest level. You can do it as for as little as $1. Channel patrons and channel members. This is available. This is for channel patrons and channel members of a minimum of $1 or $1.99. On October 1st, I will show what I am giving away 4 of, and I'll do an announcement video that I'll post up here on YouTube, and I'll probably post it as a standalone video over on Twitter, X, whatever. If you're not a patron, if you're not a channel member, you have until October 31st to become a patron or a member and be considered for it. Don't say, I'll wait until December 23rd because I know on December 25th he's drawing. Ha ha ha. No. You have to be joined by October 31st. That's Halloween night. Give yourself a treat. Spend a couple of bucks from October to the end of December. You get entered, whether you support me at the $10 level, the $5 level, or the $1 level. Jumping in at the $10 level doesn't make your chances of getting picked any greater than being at the $1 or $1.99 level. But that is it. And when you see on October 1st, when you see what I've got for you guys, you're going to say 2 things. First, holy shit, is that real? And second, I want in on this. I mean, from November to the end of December, that's less than the cost of a Coca-Cola. They'll be verklempt, Gonzalo. They will be verklempt. They'll think I'm Miss Sugar. So trust me. I mean, even if you're like, yeah, we'll see about that. In a few weeks, you're going to see, and you're going to be like, oh, but guys, I know there's some folks out there who joined free on Patreon. It's for paid patrons and paid YouTube members. And maybe you're just like, you know what? I was basically buying a ticket. I didn't win, or I did win. And now I'm gonna, are there perks to joining Patreon over YouTube? No, there are not. Whether you join on Patreon or join on YouTube as a paid member, I will put your name in the closing credits for the show. Now, I started a patrons and YouTube membership at the Master Thief level rewards program that I have not followed up on. Life caught up with me and I didn't follow through. There's no excuses. But starting in 2026, we're just going to start afresh. Starting in 2026 at the Master Thief level, they're called the same things. And it's the same price level, $10 on Patreon, $10 as a YouTube member. The Master Thief levels, I will send out a mini adventure module, scenario, encounters, maps in a nice module style PDF format to Master Thieves members or Patreons at the patrons. I blame them for calling the whole thing Patreon. Okay. Yes, the metal band. I haven't thought about them in a minute, Kabuki. That's going back. But that is that will commence in January of 2006. I will put things aright. I have let people down. So if it's metal or rock, you just might know it. That's right. So if you want to crack at the gifts that I'm going to be giving, sign up. Again, it can be for as little as $1, or you can go the full bug and do $10. Your chances are the same. Oh, and in case you're wondering how I'm going to do it, we have a wheel. We have a wheel, which I think I bet I probably didn't. Let me see here. Yeah, this is it. This is for nothing. I just want to show you guys. It remembered, and I did bookmark it too. The only metal band I listen to is Death Clock. I'm not sure who all's out there, so I can't really do another one. Daniel Rowan asks if my mom knows if I'm awake. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I'm beyond any consideration of hers. Yeah, you know what? I'll go through and I'll show you guys how this is going to work. It's lowercase z. I'm just going to add a few more here. I think, let's see, Adam Black. Again, we're not spinning to win anything. I just want you guys to see how it's going to work. Steel Mongoose up there. Is that like the stainless steel rat? Michael Connor. And let's see, Captain Infinity, Time Travel Police. Rabbit Wrangler is the last person to put on. Okay, so jump all the way down. Oh, and Don McVitie. Hello, Don. Longtime friend of the channel and friend of mine. Okay, so let me show you guys. See that? And we'll just move that out of the way. And then I click to spin. This is for bragging rights. Captain Finity, Time Travel Police. Now let's give it another spin. Hearn the Hunter. Now, I would be removing people from the list as we go so we don't have any Ziegler von Strawn. So yes, I will remove people as we go. And one more spin. Oh, Captain Finity again. To prevent that. And Cooperative Waffles. You guys get the idea. So that on Christmas night, that will be the wheel. Everyone will be input into it. You'll all see it up on screen. You'll all see it live. And if you are a patron or a member for as little as $1 or $1.99 for membership on YouTube, there you go. That is how I will select. So, if that's something that you are interested in doing, if that's something you're interested in entering in, then get on it. Because you have until October 31st to sign up. Don't miss out. Cooperative Waffles typing in the may you buy a vowel. Yes. May I buy a vowel? Why? Okay, that's a good one. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to get on the Wheel of Fortune. May I buy a vowel? Sure. Why? He told me in school sometimes why. I never saw a word that was the only vowel was a Y when I was a kid. I was always like, are they screwing with us? Are they messing with our heads? I don't know. I feel like I should keep that wheel spinning thing handy. That is quite nice, you know. Break a deal, spin the wheel. Spin the wheel, Raggedy Man. Hey, that was probably a little bit over my first grade head there, Daniel Rowan and Kabuki. Zzz. I don't even think that's a word. I think that's just something drunk people say. Zzz. I'm sorry, what did you say? Is you guys, you get along and stuff just happens like it should. Sure. Wasn't Raggedy Man? I mean, I'd probably. Raggedy Man. That does sound like a movie title. It's one of those 70s Guy Alone in the Wilderness movie titles. Now I want to know. Oh, 1981. Raggedy Man. It's a drama based on William D. Whitliff and Sarah Clark's 1979 novel. Follows a divorced mother and telephone switchboard operator living with her two sons in a small town during World War II. Eric Roberts, Sissy Spacek, Sam Shepard, William Sanderson, R.G. Armstrong. But anyway, so I hope that lots of you guys will enter, because I know that you're going to see it and you're going to want it. That was a line from an episode. I never watched Married with Children all that much. Just bits and pieces of it. But there was one where Al was donating blood. Like it was something, he was trying to raise money for his oldest daughter. And I don't remember what the reason was, but every time he won a game of pool or something, he'd donate blood. And of course, he was donating too much. He was selling it, basically. And he comes back in the bar, and they're like, Al, you shouldn't be drinking. The bar where he's playing pool, and he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. It turns out the brain doesn't need blood. You just need to keep it wet. He drinks some more beer. But I used to do, I had a few pieces of colored vinyl, and I may still. I have a Twisted Sister picture disc for the Under the Blade album. I have a ZZ Top sleeping bag 45, and I think the backside is Rough Boy, but I could be wrong. But it's got the 45 in the middle, but the whole thing is like the Egyptian King Tut's mask vibe that they had going back then. Have a lovely evening, MJ. It's no bueno. Goth girls dressed in vinyl is better than records. I suppose so, Hearn. Gosh, what else is happening? I don't know, guys. I'm just keeping on. I just kind of wanted to hang out with you guys tonight. I know it's well past the wakey times for a lot of people, but I've worn holes in my amygdala because of circadian rhythm issues, so I apologize for that. I've answered a couple of D&D questions, so surely you guys have D&D questions. So if you want to ask D&D questions. I once had an opportunity to buy a white vinyl set of Pink Floyd's The Wall. And I passed on it. My dad and I, God rest his soul, used to go to record shows a lot. And I did buy a few things at some of them. My dad was off buying like old R&B and old jazz and bebop and doo-wop stuff. Dad was a fan of Ventures records, things like that. uh, because your D&D sensing equipment is bolted on upside down, Don. I think it was out of my price range. I think it was like $75 or something, and I'd only allowed myself, well, less than that. Oh, somebody, this is the weirdest thing that came up today over on X. And I apologize if I've hurt your feelings on this, but I'll tell you straight up, I will kill on this hill. But a mutual of mine over on X quoted someone who was ranting at him about how first edition AD&D killed Dungeons and Dragons, that TSR was dying because of it, and it was only the money pumped in by second edition that saved it, and just a whole bunch of other ranting stuff. And I was just like, that is so factually incorrect. That is so gobsmackingly dumb that if you actually believe that, if you believe that first edition AD&D killed TSR, unfollow me on Twitter and unsubscribe from me if you're unsubscribed on YouTube. And dude was pissed. He didn't respond to me, but and the hell of it was is the guy said that it was silly that I was getting angry about a tabletop role playing game. I wasn't angry about it. It was just factually incorrect. it is factually incorrect. It is completely and entirely incorrect. TSR was holed at the waterline and hemorrhaging money, not because of first edition AD&D. It was happening because of the Bloom brothers and the fact that they couldn't find their ass with both hands and an accounting ledger. I don't know. It was dumb. It was just like, you just see something. It was like when I went out and I saw the pipe spraying water everywhere. I just kind of stood there with water spraying on me, just staring at it like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. It was very much that moment. It was very much that moment. Yes, Don, you know what I'm talking about. You saw it too. The traffic accident. Trevor Horn, that's right, man. Trevor Horn. Also did some great solo stuff. Any Marillion fans in the audience tonight? I've often wondered if I should go in and just immerse myself in Marillion, or maybe King Crimson. I don't know. I just don't have 75 minutes to listen to an entire song from beginning to end. But I think King Crimson was that Trevor Rabin? I could be wrong. Don likes Marillion, can't stand King Crimson. Where do you guys stand on Supertramp? I feel like there's a lot of very radio accessible Supertramp stuff that I quite like. I mean, Goodbye Stranger, right? I mean, that's just kind of like, welcome to Generation X growing up in the 1970s. Here's a stack of records, a stack of 45s. And yes, there's a copy of Supertramp's Goodbye Stranger in there. It may be Dan Rowan. I will say this. I will say this. Brother Where You Bound is a fantastic album, not least of which because David Gilmour performs on it. And I was having a prog concept rock when it dropped. The title track is like 11 minutes long. And if you want like a dystopian science fiction song that just fits the age, it has not aged well at all. Or maybe it has aged exceptionally well. The Logical Song. Thank you, The Logical Song. But it also had a very jazzy kind of cold in terms of tone and lyrical tone, but very toe tapping breakup song on it, Cannonball. But Better Days and Brother Where You Bound are pretty much like, what if 1984, but in a rock song? Is there a Dungeon Delver radio channel or playlist on Spot? There is not. I might do that someday. You guys would get surprised, okay? It'd be like, yes, all right, man, I'm feeling this. There's some Floyd, and Zeppelin, and okay, Johnny Cash, not my speed, but that's okay. Now we're getting back into Rush. And then bam, Debbie Deb Lookout Weekend. Snap, The Power. Run DMC. Raising Hell or Peter Piper. You're like, what am I listening to? So I'll warn you guys. What is the name of it's Brother Where You Bound. Brother Where You Bound is the name of the song. It is not a happy tune. Also, there is an extremely long form video of it on YouTube, or there was a number of years ago, because they actually put out a laser disc, a promotional laser disc and VHS tape when the album dropped. Ronnie Millsap, Daniel Rowan, good choice, man. Ronnie Millsap. Yeah, I might do that someday. Cooperative Waffles really wants a Delver's Dungeon radio channel. Let me tell you what, if record labels weren't so uptight, I'd put my feet up and I'd spin stuff. I would go full disc jockey back. And I bet you Don McVitie knows what I'm talking about. Back in the early 2000s, there was a radio station. To call it a radio station really does it a disservice. But it was out of Milwaukee. It was an FM channel, and it was called The Brew. Other than station identification and the DJs like maybe saying like the next 3 songs that we're going to play, there were no ads. And they played a long playlist of stuff. And The Brew, like, Colleen and I heard it the first time we went up to Lake Geneva. And The Brew played just like, take the contents of a record store's rock, pop, and country, and soul, and rap, and R&B, all of that, and put it on shuffle. You'd hear Metallica and then Michael Jackson. And then Garth Brooks. And then the Four Tops. And then Elvis. And then Front 242. And then, AC/DC. And then I don't know. It was amazing though. We were just locked in. It was like, this is the best radio station ever. And then of course, we got into the hanging out at, oh my God, that's Gary Gygax and Ernie Gygax and this, blah, 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 and meeting new friends and so on. And then when we got back to Florida, I promptly forgot about it. I don't know, 6 months or a year later, I'm talking to the wife and I was like, remember that radio station? She's like, yeah. And I said, you know what? I bet they have a web radio station. She's like, yeah. So I go and I Google it. And the first thing I find is from like just a few months after we were in Lake Geneva, they format changed. They were now just like, I think they went to just like rap, and it was a regular radio station. You know, 3 songs, the jock talks over the beginning and end, 7 minutes of commercials, 3 songs, jock talks over the beginning and end, 7 minutes of commercials, and then there's your broadcast hour. So I guess it wasn't particularly profitable to have a radio station that was like putting everybody's iPod into the aux jack and hitting the shuffle button. Jethro Tull is a flavor for D&D. Yeah, Overkill's an interesting band. No mention of Wolfman Jack. I mean, he wasn't a musician, I don't think. He was just a jock, but now this is interesting because I've told a lot of people about this, and I mentioned it on the show before, and a lot of people don't really realize this, but as people think, Rush or Led Zeppelin or this rock band or that rock band, that's the sound of TND. And Don McVitie will back me up on this 100%. Gary loved jazz music. He had no use for rock music. Like he just didn't care for it. Gary loved jazz from the 30s and 40s. Like I once mentioned that my favorite jazz album was Time Out by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. And his response to me was, well, it's okay as new jazz music goes, but it's not really to my taste. I mean, he wasn't an elitist, but he was not going to be like, well, let me just play some Led Zeppelin here as we're marching down the hall. That you weren't gonna get that. Yeah, Roundabout's a wonderful song. Although I gotta say, my favorite, yeah, he did have his lane, Kabuki. My favorite Yes song is probably Your Move. It's like that little duology of linked songs. But I mean, it's so hard to say. I will say what my least favorite Yes track is. Starship Trooper. Yeah, not new age jazz. Yeah, Gary, he liked his old school jazz, man. It really is. It really is, Kabuki. I lost the thread. What was I going to say? It was music. Oh, right. For me, for music, honestly, I don't much listen to music anymore when I play, which is sad. But when I used to play here at the house, and I would dearly love to have a group here at home that I played with again. But I could put on Physical Graffiti, and that would just that would be wonderful. But I did take requests. I did take requests. Um, One night, Mrs. the Dungeon Delver was playing with us, and she was saying how I was playing the Misfits, and she said, I don't like the Misfits. And so I said, oh, okay, baby. Yeah. No problem. So with her, and this is in our office, and I would get up and pick up the camera and show you guys around, but I don't want to. We're sitting at this table, and all this stuff wasn't bolted onto it. And so we're sitting here, and I just turn around, and my PC over there, where I have sat and streamed before, particularly during the hurricanes at this time last year. I queued up some more music, and it was Danzig. I played Danzig's first subtitle. Or no, not the Misfits. I switched over to Samhain, which was Danzig's band immediately after the Misfits. And it raised Mrs. the Dungeon Delver's ire. Says, I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. So then I switched over to Danzig. She was like, really don't like Danzig. Like, okay, fine. So I stopped. Presence is a good Led Zeppelin album. Here's the thing, and I've said this before, but when it comes to Led Zeppelin albums, the best, objectively the best, you cannot argue this. Rod Torfelson's Armada, absolutely. Featuring Herman Menderchuk, by the way. We can't not mention that we feature Herman Menderchuk. Objectively, the best Led Zeppelin album is Physical Graffiti. You can't argue that. I would say then probably 4, 3, 2, 1 in that order. Then Presence, then in through the then after 4, 3, 2, 1, Houses of the Holy, then Presence, then In Through the Outdoor, then Coda. Here's the thing. Led Zeppelin albums, when I talk about this Led Zeppelin album is better than that Led Zeppelin album, I'm not saying, look, Physical Graffiti is a 10 and Led Zeppelin 4 is a 6. Physical Graffiti is a 10. Led Zeppelin 4 is a 9.9. No Led Zeppelin album scores below a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm talking about tenths of a point. By the way, Don, I absolutely adore Tom Petty. Sorry, I guess that's just that point of divergence. And that's the beautiful thing, Kabuki. All of their albums, whichever album you pick, is one of their best, just by dint of being Led Zeppelin. All it has to do is sit there and be Led Zeppelin. And there you go. JP got rockets with the answer. When it comes down to Gem and the holograms of the Misfits, I got to say the Misfits rock a little harder. Okay. I got you, Don. I got you. Yeah, I love Petty. Saw him in concert. Oh, man. What a show. What an amazing, incredible show he put on live. Whew. Thank you, Jay. That's okay, Daniel Rowan. I like Seal. mean, Seal is great. Yeah, that Traveling Wilburys lineup was something special. But regarding the Misfits, to me, listening to the Misfits is more like you want it for the attitude. Nobody listens to Where Eagles Dare for like, oh, I sure do like how well they're playing the instruments here. I mean, they're playing them absolutely competently. But you want to hear Glenn Danzig sneer that refrain, I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. You better think about it, baby. That's what you want. That's what you're there for. Oh, Jay Tyler, that's a callback. Yeah. Where's that confounded bridge? Has anybody seen the bridge? Boom, 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 boom. I love how funky that song is. I love how funky that song is. But yeah, I don't anymore. Like, so I played a great RPG, which if you ever get a chance to play it, hey, you know what? I might run it. Oh, I need to talk about Guac. Don, you need to hear this about Guac. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. Um, but I played some Tales from the Loop for a free RPG day ages ago. And when I did, I put together an 80s rock playlist, had it queued up on my phone, had a little Bluetooth speaker, found it completely distracting. Like, just if it was loud enough that we could all hear it and enjoy it, I was having to talk over it. If I turned it down to where it wasn't bothering me, it was barely audible. So, which is a shame because of all the games that should have a playlist, a soundtrack. It's Tales from the Loop. I mean, you get your Journey, your Devo, your oh God, what else? Some Billy Squire in there, some Fleetwood Mac, Duran, just all that great power pop and thrash pops of Bangles, Go-Go's, all that fantastic stuff from the 80s. Just go the Cars, Rory with the Cars, and all the one-off stuff. And I'm not denigrating the musician, but Gary Newman, and so on and etc. But it was just like, if I have it, maybe it was the speaker, I don't know, but if it was up loud enough that I could hear it and we could kind of get into it. There were certain kids listening to Elvis Costello. He wasn't really my bag until like the 90s. Interesting guy. I'll say that about Costello. Interesting guy. But if it was up loud enough to enjoy, it was distracting. If it was down low enough, might as well not had it on. And I'm almost kind of that way now about music at the RPG table anyway. And you're like, oh, what about something ambient? Like ambient sounds like dungeon sounds are fine. But even like a drone synth is going to start to bug me. It's going to start to like make the back of my head itch. Ultimately, and this is partially in response to Kabuki, the problem is the highs and lows. Like, you want to talk about an epic battle song? Immigrant Song. We were playing G2, Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl. Even if you've never played that adventure, just The title, Glacial Rift of the Frost Giants. Holy shit, is Immigrant Song gonna fit that? Absolutely. A battle starts. Play Immigrant Song. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. That's just enough time for me to go through everybody and ask them what they're going to do before we roll initiative. And we can either start it over and just play it in a loop while we're playing, or go to the next track. And if the song is long enough to cover the events, you also can't really dictate where the highs and lows are going to be. It's like, oh, the party, you're in the inn and everything's nice and quiet, and the big booming part of the soundtrack is playing, or it's like, okay, you're out in the countryside and suddenly the pinioning of great wings and the crack of leathery spans over your heads, and it's like, the music is, you can't really, and stopping, say, oh, let me cue this part up. Hang on a second, guys. It's like, Thank you, Don. And I hope his ears feel better regardless. One thing I will say, the one exception I will put to any of this. Now, Jay Tyler, I do have a playlist. Of songs that I listen to when I paint. That is a completely different kettle of fish. And it actually helps me keep track of time when I'm painting. But one thing I will say is the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack to Quake 1 is really unsettling to play at low volume while you've got a group around the table playing Call of Cthulhu. I know this. Hey, Christopher Sims, good to see you. I know this because I've done that before, and people have been like, that's when I was at a friend's house and I brought my Quake CD with me and just played it, just like, on a boom box. The volume goes like 0 to 10 or something. I had it at like half, like 0.5, and it was just, just kind of almost subharmonic, subliminal. And everyone at the table was like, that's really unsettling music, Bill. I love it. So it worked well for a Call of Cthulhu game. So I had mentioned this, and I know that Don's still here, so I want to bring this up. I did some soul searching about Guac. The Great Underground Online Gaming Convention will from now on, it will be the second weekend of April. From now on, that's when it's going to be. This year coming up, well, I guess that's technically, that would be the third, or no, I said the second. It will be the 9th through the 12th of April. That is when we are doing it from now on. The reason I did the guac is because a lot of you people, some of you people who are out there may remember this. I said, if I ever get 1,000 subscribers on this channel, I'll play. It started out, you MFers, it started out, I'll do a demo of Space Hulk live. And then people are like, well, what about having people play Space Hulk with you? And I was like, I wasn't running games online at that point, I don't think. Or maybe I was, but it was just D&D, and it was Tuesday afternoons. I was like, Fine. And then people are like, what about other games? What about D&D or Space Hulk and then Dungeon? And I was like, I suppose we could play games for a day. I could do a games day. And then you guys gradually you browbeat me, you coerced me, you made me take it from something a simple little games day with a select few of you into an entire freaking online convention with merchandise and everything. And over the years, I've moved it around. This will be the 5th year of Guac, which just blows my mind. I cannot believe that the 5th year of Guac is coming up, that I've been doing it for 5 freaking years. So Guac 2026, April 9th through April 12th, all online, cost $0. All played on Discord. You don't need a camera, you just need audio. Some DMs may be cool with you just being text mode only. But we will do it now around that time in April from now on, because that is when I broke 1,000 subs on the channel. Actually, that's not when I broke 1,000 subs on the channel. It was March, but I'm not doing it in March because that's my wedding anniversary. I don't think Mrs. the Dungeon Delver would be super happy about that. So from now on, that's when it is. I mean, it was June of this last year, or maybe it was May. I don't remember. The point is, I kept trying to pick, oh, I don't want to do it at this time because that's EggCon. There are plenty of cons that run against each other, and even cons that are separated by a week. People are like, I can't do both. So we're doing the convention in April from now on. That's when it's going to be. I apologize if you're like, but I'm going to be at ConnectoCon. I'm going to be at Dice Days. I'm going to be at Board Game Bonanza. So that's when Guac is, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. We're going to do panels. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you people something. If you missed Thursday night with RH Snow, let me tell you what. Texas Halfling. That's she was a rootin' tootin' guest, and I absolutely adored having her on. She is the first guest of honor that I have invited for 2026. She will be there. We will do a panel on Discord with her. You guys can interact and ask her questions directly. Our other guest of honor will be a guy who he worked with Gary Gygax. He for the longest time had a publishing company of his own stuff. He's a well-known adventure writer. Many of his works actually did get published by Troll Lord Games. Don McVitie will be there. We'll do a panel there. So Don's going to be a guest of honor too. I'm just teasing Don. If you can, that's awesome. If you want to just come and chill and run stuff, that's fine too. But I will line up a panel of folks to be there. I'm going to reach out to lots of people, and I will let you guys know when it's ready to go. The only thing about doing it on Discord that is problematic is Discord addresses change constantly. I can send you guys an invite right now. In fact, I will. I'll do this. Let me show you guys. If you're watching this at some point in the future, let's do that. Let's copy that. Let's paste this. So right there's the invite to the Discord. To anyone, say 6 months from now, September, October, November, December, January, February. If it's February and you're watching this video and you're like, cool, that's just in a couple of months. Hey, wait a minute. That URL doesn't work. It doesn't, though. JP got rockets. It doesn't. That will expire. Permanent does not mean permanent. I wish it did. I absolutely wish it did. And I don't know why I can't just call the server discord.gg/guac. And then it always resolves to that, regardless of whatever that hash number is. Hello, Kaku. Good to see you. Oh, you're going to play in some games, Don. You're going to play in some games. But if you want to do a panel, we'll have a panel. Kabuki's already agreed to do a panel, so I'm looking forward to that. I tease her about that. But yeah, if you come back in 3 months, 4 months, whatever, and you try and follow that link, it won't get you there. It is a forever moving target, and I wish it wasn't. It makes it very, very hard for me to promote the thing. No, I'm not going to make you do that. I hope if you're free, you'll consider stopping by, not to be on a panel, but to play in some games. If the channel ever goes over 10,000 subscribers, I will do everything I can to hold the Guac, the Great Underground Overland Gaming Convention, an in-person gaming con here in Central Florida. That one won't be free. Guac Online, Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, is free. If I have a real, I will have to charge. I will have to charge something because, I mean, I can't have a couple dozen of you freaks just standing around inside my house. I'll have to get an event space, right? Isn't the subscription level on Discord that allows custom URLs? I don't know. I can't afford it anyway. You're talking about Discord Nitro or whatever it is. That's just another expense I can't have. What if we set up a web page, shared that URI in a script to auto update the link? If we could make that work and make it pull it periodically, I mean, I suppose so. We'll talk, Don. We'll talk about that. Something else too. Now, Doomsword, bless him, figured out a bot and configured it at the Guac for game management. It's called Sesh. It is the easiest thing in the world to use. I'm going to do a how-to video on how to use Sesh. And assuming they don't screw with a bot or anything like that, I will show you how to use Sesh. But the only human intervention that is required, and I think this is regardless of what you do, is I have to set you as I have to set you as a game master. That is the only intervention that I have to do to give you access to the bot. So why am I using that? Why am I not using something like Warhorn, which is really cool? I used Warhorn for the second guac, and it was awesome. I used it for the third guac. I don't know if things changed or if I just started paying attention to it. But in Warhorn, which Warhorn is a website you go to sign up for online gaming conventions, and then game masters, basically, I create the event, I create the time slots, and plug in game masters. And then you look at the game grid and you pick out a game you want to play, and then you sign up for it. I don't know if Warhorn changed or if I just started paying attention to this. To make someone able to set up their game in Warhorn, you must give them admin access on the Warhorn page, which is like if it was an IRL convention saying, for someone to be able to set up their table at the con, you have to give them keys to the event space, all of the event space, the office, the snack bar, the gaming hall, everywhere. I don't think that's very good. Not because I have a problem with any of you guys. I have a problem with some rando from some trolling board or somebody who just doesn't like me. There are people who just don't like me. Coming in, signing up, I'm going to run first edition AD&D. Haha. Okay, there you go. And then they just go in and blow away everybody's games. They kick everybody out. They blow away their games. I reached out to Warhorn. I said, hey, am I doing something wrong? Because it looks to me like I have to set everybody who wants to be a game master to be a Warhorn page admin. And I think that's a big security issue. And their response to me was, and I quote, at some point, you just have to trust people. No, no. Again, it has nothing to do with you guys. I'm going to quote my dad. My dad would always tell me to be careful when I left the house when I was a teenager. Dad, I'm going to go shoot pool with Brian. Son, please be careful. And I'd say, I'm going to be fine, Dad. We're just going down a rack and queue. And he would always say to me, son, I'm not worried about you. It's the rest of those crazy sons of bitches out there I'm worried about. And that's kind of my mindset. I'm not worried about you guys. I'm not worried about anybody who might be watching this. I'm worried about some rando just being like, who can I fuck with today? So maybe I'm giving myself too much credit. But I don't want to hand the keys to the entire convention over to any Manny Mower Jack that rocks up. Exactly. Hearn the Hunter. You got it. No shortage of trolls. So I'm sorry if that steps on anyone's toes. I'm sorry if anyone's feelings are hurt by that. I'm not, I can't do that. Now, the next logical step would be tabletop.events. They're slicker than oiled glass. Tabletop.events Tabletop.events requires you to charge money for your con so they can take part of that money. And I don't say that like they're villains. They have a very good product. If you can afford to pay for it, that's awesome. But you have to set a number of badges, and then you have to pay a percentage of those badges, and you have to do it up front. So if I assume that 100 people are going to want to come, and I buy a badge package and 35 people come, I'm on the hook for a whole lot of money I don't have. So there's tabletop.events gone. So it's Warhorn, which is free, but in my opinion, not secure. Or it's tabletop.events, which costs money and I can't realistically afford. So that brings us back to Sesh. All you have to do, if you want to be a game master at Guac, is go to that URL that was just up on the screen, join the Discord server, and tell me, I want to be a game master. And then I set you as a game master. Congratulations. You have all the power and authority that a game master does. Now, something else I want to mention about it for all, well, there's 20 of you guys out there watching on YouTube. And allegedly 103 watching over on Twitter, but I don't think that counts. I think that's bots. But for all of you folks out here, who want to be game masters, I will be doing a how to use Sesh, so don't worry about that. But also something I want to mention: if you're in the Eurozone, if you're on the Pacific Rim, if you're in the subcontinent, Oceania, the great continent of Africa, wherever you are, if you're not in the North American time zones, don't fret, because unlike a convention in real life where we'd have to lock up rooms, games are available 24 hours at Guac. If you schedule a game and your game is from 4 p.m. British Standard Time to 8 p.m. British Standard Time, of course, that's like midnight to 4 in the morning here in the US, then you're absolutely positively welcome to do that. The only thing I ask is that you stick to a 12-hour clock. The game will, the con will open at noon on the 9th. So if you're going to run a game, first day, first session, noon to 4. Even if you know in your heart of hearts that it's only going to be 2 hours, your block is noon to 4. Or your block is 4 to 8. Or your block is 8 to midnight. Don't come in and say it's 1:37 to 5:16 or thereabouts. I was just talking about how to get signed up for Guac and everything, Kabuki. Now Hearn asked me, does the game have to be D&D? No, it does not. People have come in, The Wheeling Dragon runs the Labyrinth TTRPG. I might run some Tales from the Loop this year. I'll have to see where I'm at. I don't know that I'll do board games again this year. I don't. It's a big layout of stuff. But no, Hearn, it does not have to be D&D. I would prefer old school games or games that embrace the old school style. But I mean, if you've just got a kick-ass 5e game you're itching to run, I'm not going to throw you out. But that's the guac, guys. Yeah, Monopoly, if that's your thing. Yeah, tactile games that require everybody to touch the board probably won't work so well, JP, but yeah, we've got panels, we're going to have merch. And I'm just excited about it, and I hope you guys will want to come to the con. You know, the only thing it does to benefit the show is maybe people who hang out at the con enjoy it enough that they'll want to subscribe to the YouTube channel if they're not already. That's really it, because it's free. I do this not for me, but I do it for you guys, because you guys subbed to the channel. You guys got me over 1,000 subs and got me to where this little lemonade stand can help keep the lights on around here, quite literally. So this is how I kind of give you guys, give back to you guys. And I do my level best. That's all I can do, guys. And I'm sorry I'm not the bestest show on earth. I'm sorry if you're looking for something with, you know, a massive 5,000 person Discord and 250,000 subscribers and you know, new TikToks and YouTube shorts and a media team, and you know, I'm all made up and influencer-y looking, and I have professional voice actors on my live stream games. I'm sorry it's not that. I'm sorry it's just me in front of a camera. But what I can give you guys is a chance to have fun and do stuff like this. So you know, that's about it. I've been going for 2.5 hours, and it's 2:00 in the morning here, Eastern time. Has anybody got any more D&D questions before I call it? I'll answer them for you. Gonzalo, I don't know if you're still out there, brother. You were asking about some more Judges Guild. If you want Tegel Manor, man, I'll do a deep dive on Tegel Manor. I got Kabuki. I'm going to do a deep dive by request on art books. We're going to have some fun with the art books. So, you know, I'm just doing it for you guys. It's approximately 78,200 cubic kilometers, or 18,761 cubic miles, making it the largest inland body of water by volume. It's distributed across 3 main regions: northern, middle, southern Caspian Sea, with the deepest southern region holding the largest proportion of the water. Here's a breakdown of the Caspian Sea's volume and characteristics. Northern Caspian, very shallow and contains less than 1% of the total volume. Middle Caspian accounts for about 1/3 of the water volume. Southern Caspian, the deepest part of the sea, containing approximately 2/3 of the total water volume. It accounts for 44% of the total lake waters in the world. Ask, Kyle. Kabuki always asks that, and I always try to answer it. Ask a question, Kyle. There's no buzzer. I'll keep answering questions till you guys run out of them. Why is 5e 2024 your favorite? Spell it properly, and I'll give you a proper burn in return, Don. Don and I always go back and forth. I don't know, Don. Why is you tell me? Why is damn? What can I insult him with? Why is Blue Rose your favorite RPG, Don? There, Kyle, ask your question. Oh, and you know what? You know what else is coming up in October? We are playing Call of Cthulhu on Fridays. Gamma World is shelved for 4 weeks in October, and we play Call of Cthulhu. We will be playing 4 sessions of horror. Okay, he's typing. 4 sessions of horror. This year's is once again in a more modern vein, but that's all I'm going to tell you about it. Your technology will not save you. Anime girls, that's why, Blue Rose. Have I ever played Savage Worlds? Yes, I have. I played Savage Worlds Rifts, and it seemed simple enough. There was nothing memorable about it, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm still waiting on Kyle Johnson. Still waiting on his question. So if anybody has anything that they can type faster than he's typing, and I'm not picking on you, Kyle. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying, we don't have to wait. I feel like there was. Oh yeah, for a friend tried to convince is I love OD&D, and he was, oh, if you love OD&D, Savage Worlds, Savage Worlds, we're gonna try it. What is the canonicity of quarter elves? Okay, so this is interesting that you asked this, Kyle. In one of the Gord the Rogue books, Gary um, uh, Gary talks about Gord meeting a young woman, and they're stuck. They're trapped in an oubliette. I mean that in the informal sense. Somebody, a room that is trapped, and you get stuck in there to die. Gord is, of course, completely blind because it's pitch black in the room. And the girl is like, well, no, there's a little bit of light in here. Oh, there's something on the floor over there. Oh no, over there. And she essentially exhibited a very, very limited infravision, like within like a few feet. And she was able to guide Gord to a desiccated body and get like something that he was able to use to help them escape the oubliette. Now, it doesn't get any more. Gord muses that somewhere along in her lineage, she was human. and her father and mother both were human, but that somewhere in her lineage she may have had an elven ancestor. I think she comments on always being able to see well in the dark, or she's just not aware of it and just assumes that everyone else can. Um, I don't think you get much more canonical than Gary having a character in a book that he wrote about the world of Greyhawk as having elven lineage and it giving them a limited bit of infravision. If you're talking about in-game mechanics, I wouldn't lean heavily into it because then everybody is going to say, "Oh, but I don't have any level limits, do I?" Oh, okay, then I got some elven parentage in me. I mean, if you're going to do something like that, I would treat it the same way. There is a low percentage chance that a character can have acute hearing. I would give it like, you know, maybe a 1% chance, and then not give it any real game joss at all. Just like you've got like 3 feet of infravision. By the time you can see it, if it's a crisis situation, by the time you can see it, it's too late. But maybe it might help you out, kind of like a secondary skill thing. I'm 1/16th orc, not at my table. Why not? Orcs are fecund. Yeah, exactly. JP got rockets. Drawing out general punit squares would get really beardy. I would not, I mean, beyond literally a bit of this is not going to, you know. So I had a player for all of like 10 minutes in a session once. Unfortunately, I don't want to get into it, but she, nice lady, but circumstances dictated otherwise. And she had played back in the wild and woolly days of 2E and had a game master who let her run a catfolk character. And she said, "Can I run my catfolk character?" And I was like, "This is how Greyhawk works. Good night, great old ones. Take care." I said, "Are you okay with a catfolk thing being strictly cosmetic? You don't get any advantages under anyone else over anyone else, or it's like you're elven, just reskinned, for lack of a better term, as a cat." And she was perfectly okay with that. I think we basically went with you're essentially the same as a half elf. She was super happy with it, and we rolled with it. And then she had to leave at the midpoint in the game and had major life problems that kept her from coming back from the table. But it was good times, you know. If you're going to do something like that, do it in the mechanics of the game that already exist, or have it to where it's not any real kind of mechanical anything at all. An ASMR with psionics. Oh my God, what are you playing? Oh, a similar situation with a psionic player. Okay. A psionic player or a psionic character? All right, guys, it is incredibly late. Listen, thank you everyone for hanging out with me tonight. I want to thank Gonzalo for the $5. Gonzalo is going to get some Judges Guild deep dive again. We're going to do probably Tegel Manor, because I've done Dark Tower already. So I'm going to slide on out of here, everyone. And when I'm done, I'm going to play Owl Bear at the end. I have no clever jokes about it. Thank you all for being here, guys. I do this for you. I love you all. And I'll see you, I guess technically, since it's 2:10 in the morning here, I'll see you all tomorrow afternoon, Monday afternoon. Peace. Good night, everybody. And I love you all.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.